So in this video, I'm going to summarise some of the key insights from this brilliant book, The Good Ancestor. Sometimes a book comes along which just kind of captures the mood of the moment, which I believe you could summarise as being a mixture of, on the one hand, weariness of trying to achieve endless productivity in the short term, and on the other hand, grappling with our very real concerns about the state of the planet that we're leaving to future generations. And it's on this second point that The Good Ancestor really explores the ways in which you can start to think long term in a short term world. This is the first episode in a new series here on House of the Making called the Timeful Book Club, where we draw out and discuss the key insights from books that I've really enjoyed about how we engage with time. So let's get started. If you're new or just curious about long-term thinking, what it might involve, its benefits, how it works in practice, I think this is the book for you because in just over 250 pages it covers a huge amount of ground. So today I'm going to split this video in half. In the first half, I'll give you a tiny bit of context before diving into an overview of the 6 drivers of short-term thinking, followed by 6 ways to think long. Then in the second half, I'm going to take 3 of these ways of thinking long, the ones that really resonated with me, and explore them in a little bit more depth. Okay, so let's begin with the beginning. The Good Ancestor opens with a simple question from medical researcher Jonas Salk. Salk headed the team that developed the first effective vaccine for polio, and rather than seeking to personally profit by patenting this breakthrough vaccine, Salk sought to be of some help to humankind, and he later distilled his life philosophy into a single question: are we being good ancestors? From this point of departure, author Roman Krznaric embarks on a really quite extraordinary journey to explore the many facets of this urgent question, and a question that Krznaric acknowledges is a formidable task given the age in which we live, which is one of pathological short-termism. Krznaric identifies 6 drivers of short-termism present in the world around us. These are the tyranny of the clock, where the perception of time held by our ancestors, such as circular time driven by repeated patterns of sleep and seasons, has been replaced by our modern concept of linear time, where we are all drilled into step by mechanical clocks. Digital distraction, whereby technology competes to hijack your attention. 3. Political presenteeism, where elected representatives have a myopic focus on the next election, opinion poll, or just the next tweet. Number 4, speculative capitalism, with its volatile boom and bust financial markets and near instantaneous electronic trading. Number 5, networked uncertainty, risks of global contagion, be that a pandemic or economic, where problems that arrive in one small locality can easily be transmitted around the whole globe. And number 6, perpetual growth, chasing after the next near-term target over longer-term sustainable growth. Krznaric believes that taken together, these drivers hold the potential to drag us over the edge of civilizational breakdown. And so, what is the counterpoint to all of this short-termism? The book offers 6 ways to think long. 1. Deep time humility. 2. Adopt a legacy mindset. 3. Intergenerational justice. 4. Cathedral thinking. 5. Imagining the many possible future pathways for us described in the book as holistic forecasting. And number 6, we should strive for one planet thriving via a transcendent goal. Here I'm going to focus on the 3 which really resonated with me personally. The first is deep time thinking. This is all about recognising how humankind is but an eye blink in cosmic history. Day-to-day life obscures this perspective that I think is neatly captured in the book by a metaphor of a calendar. So New Year's Day to Halloween represent the vast Precambrian period, almost 4 billion years. Dinosaurs make an appearance mid-December before vanishing on Boxing Day. The last ice sheet turns to slush a minute before midnight on the 31st of December. Oh, and the epic Roman Empire? Well, that pops in and out of existence in a mere 5 seconds. If the drivers of short-termism severed our links with these deeper natural cycles, then ancient woodlands and the geology beneath our feet are just a few ways for us to travel and reach this wider expanse of time, and perhaps help us to ponder for just a moment our cosmic insignificance. The second way to think long that I want to talk about from the book is adopting a legacy mindset. Krznaric asks, how will the people of the future remember us? Which begs the question, how can we be remembered well? A common interpretation of legacy is essentially familial, to leave something behind in a will to loved ones. This usually takes the form of assets, pounds, paintings or property, or non-material possessions such as values, language, culture or traditions. Krznaric challenges you, however, to think a bit more broadly. He invites you to set aside your urge for personal glory, having a museum wing named after you, or leaving your offspring a weighty inheritance, and instead adopt what he calls a transcendent legacy mindset. The aim is to be remembered by future generations you'll never know. The universe of strangers of the future is the way that he puts it. Conceptually, this idea of doing things will all be remembered favourably by those that we'll never meet. I think it's easy enough to grasp in theory, but is understanding really enough if we want to truly become good ancestors? So the book offers up 3 strategies for cultivating a legacy mindset. The first is something called the death nudge. Essentially, remind yourself that you're not going to live forever. You need a death nudge to really jolt your mind into properly contemplating the world and the people that will survive you. And to be reminded of your mortality can be enough, according to the book, to encourage you to leave something in your will to a charitable cause that you're passionate about. The second strategy to develop a legacy mindset goes a step further. A gentle reminder that you'll not be here forever might help you to make a one-off transfer of wealth. However, it's unlikely to trigger any deep psychological shifts in your connection with those people yet unborn. So this second strategy in the book is about considering your gift to future generations and in part acknowledging how your life today is built on the gifts that you've received from our common ancestors. So think, for example, about all of the buildings around you, the technology you use and the workers' rights perhaps that you benefit from, that previous generations gave their time, energy, and in many cases, their lives to give to us. But instead of paying it back, Krznaric suggests, we pay it forward by becoming givers of gifts to future generations. And this could come in the form of leaving the gift of a thriving, peaceful planet. But here we encounter a problem. After all, it can be difficult, Krznaric notes, to feel a powerful personal connection with the unborn inhabitants of the earth, who we will never meet. Essentially, we are confronted with a problem of empathy. How can we imagine walking in the shoes of future generations, people that might walk this earth in hundreds of years' time? One suggestion in the book is a Maori spiritual concept called wakapapa. This idea conjures up the image of an unbroken chain of people with arms linked, spanning all of time from its beginning to its very end, and it captures the obligations and responsibilities we hold to build on the legacy of those that came before us. The third way of thinking long that I'm going to talk about today is a concept called Cathedral Thinking. This is the art of planning into the distant future. In the book, Krznaric illustrates not only the concept, but also documents the many examples from history that demonstrate our capacity to think long, plan long, and build towards a specific goal with a time horizon stretching out over hundreds of years. One example in the book is drawn from the city in southwest Germany called Ulm, where inhabitants decided to fund the building of a new church in 1377. Half a millennium later, Ulm Minster was completed in 1890. The original contributors who kick-started this project would never see the project's completion. Similar things could be said of Gaudi's masterpiece La Sagrada Familia in Barcelona. And this idea of how a cathedral could inspire generations of people is dramatised in Ken Follett's epic novel The Pillars of the Earth. Krznaric suggests that the idea of cathedral thinking is a kind of shorthand for the long-term vision found in these soaring, awe-inspiring historical buildings, yet sadly lacking in our contemporary politics and commerce. But it's worth stressing that cathedral thinking is not only to be found in cathedrals, nor is it even limited to buildings. The book notes that everything from the Great Wall of China to London's sewer system to the American Constitution serves as examples of how human societies have embarked on long-term projects stretching out over decades, if not centuries. This was just a short summary of 3 of the 6 ways to think long that this book discusses. And there is a huge amount of factoids and curiosities, as well as very thought-provoking ideas packed into this book. I kind of see The Good Ancestor as a gateway book to the many ways you and I can upturn our rigid fixation on the short now. And it serves as an invitation to become what the book calls time rebels. The Good Ancestor is a call to action, to think and do long. If you're interested in more ideas about how to live better by looking to the future and to challenge yourself on the way that you think about time, then check out this video here, where I share a model of how to think more expansively about your time in terms of territories. Thanks for watching. If you aren't already, hit the subscribe button and I'll see you over in the next video.